All right, I got crazy stalker bitches hitting me up on my telly, my celly, my Twitter, and my Skype, calling me Daniel Louis Crumpton. Therefore, I am. And that means you're listening to Zen in the Car Radio, brought to you by the good graces of Danny Romero's AmericanFreedomRadio.com. And today is Saturday, February the 27th. At least that's what my computer screen tells me. And if your computer screen tells you that, you must trust it. And tonight's going to be a roundtable discussion. And obviously, whenever we go to air, things always get a little, crazy. So we're still trying to get a hold of Kim O'Chelly, formerly of the show Jaded, which was on another network. We're trying to get a hold of them now, but they've been having some internet issues. We also have Thomas Sands from ZenInTheCar.com on the line with us. You there, Thomas? Maybe he's muted out. And Angela Forman from Toxic Deceptions on American Freedom Radio. You there, Angela?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you pretty good. By the way, I would like to thank your country for the inspiration of Men at Work's The Land Down Under, which is one of my favorite songs ever.
We were going to actually put that as a sound. I'm getting some background sound.
Yeah, I'm getting a little fuzz, too.
Yeah, what's that coming from?
It's the gremlins in the system.
It's gone now. But, yeah, Land Down Under, actually, Danny was actually going to use that as my background song. But
little cliche. But, it is what it is.
But I do come from a land down under.
This is true.
Where women,
All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, so we're getting messages from Mr. Sands that he is the guilty party with the background noise, and as soon as he gets that straightened out, we'll bring him in. So I was on your show earlier today, which was 4 o'clock p.m. my time, 1 o'clock Pacific time, and some crazy time wherever you're at. And
8 o'clock a.m. Sunday. It's actually Sunday, so you guys are way behind us.
Jeez.
It's Sunday. It's actually Sunday, 12 o'clock.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're all night
I'm
owls.
a day ahead of you. I'm a day ahead of you.
It's like time travel, man. It's breaking my mind. So
well, I think we should actually have the same clock. For God's sake, we're on the same planet, right?
Okay. Well, so me and you had a discussion about, it was about the Book of Enoch, about my novel, Then Came the Flood, spirituality, losing loved ones, the medical, just everything. And so I knew before I went on your show that we would not be able to discuss everything on your show. So I just wanted to have you back on so that we can kind of bleed over and into this show and have a roundtable discussion with whoever happens to join us. We did have Jason Turner, who was going to join us tonight, but he was also having some technical difficulties.
Oh, well, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And
Where's Chuck? Where's Chuck and his wife? Come on.
Let's see.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, guys, come on. They're still working on it.
That's right. Danny will fix that up.
Yeah. Their Skype's still showing that he's
Danny
offline.
from American Freedom Radio will bring it on. Come on, Danny.
So, and I might have to wait till during the break, but we did want to bring Jason Patrick. Angela, I don't know if you're familiar with the Oregon situation that happened here last month, but Jason Patrick is a friend of mine. He is a friend of ZenInTheCar.com's. He's a longtime patriot and activist, and he was in the Oregon standoff not too long ago, and we're going to try to get Kelli, his sister, on to give a quick update of what's going on with his case and how she can
Daniel. But yeah, I'm familiar with that case because there's some pretty terrible things going on over with the Native American Indians that we're talking about. It's funny how when you start talking about something that's interesting that we suddenly drop off something that's very important. Hello, who's back?
Oh, okay, Thomas is back. I don't know
Thomas.
what happened to Daniel though. Is the background noise bad still, or?
No, that's a good background sound. You sound great.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, they've dropped off, so it's just the two of us. But we met on chat.
That we did.
Chuckacelli's show. And, so tell us a bit about yourself. I might as well take over from Daniel. So come on.
We're having a lot of issues today.
Yeah, and That's the thing, that's with live radio, is that we need to, it's okay if we break off. That's what makes it sound fantastic. We're not reading off we're not reading it. Okay, Angela Forman's back. Who else is back? We seem to be losing everyone on the show. It must mean that there's a reason why they don't want us to hear it. You're there, Danny. But yeah, it's Angela Forman, and I guess I'm coming in for Daniel's show. But Daniel will be back on shortly. It looks like we're getting back on track. Okay. And Thomas, you're back, right?
And I'm back.
Yeah, so it's just the two of us right now, and we're having technical difficulties. Oh, well, I guess we need to take over from Daniel's show. Daniel, we met the other day on Daniel's back. Thank God for that, because I wasn't going to be the host. You there, Daniel?
I'm not hearing him, so
that's all right. We can just talk about you. Talk about you because
it's a good thing we had a backup host while my internet took a hiccup.
A backup host?
Sorry about that.
I'm just a human being.
Nah, you're doing fine. So anyway, where did my internet so rudely cut me off at?
Pretty much at the start.
The Illuminati doesn't want you to talk.
As I was saying, we were going to have Jason Patrick's sister on. We're going to try to get her. I know we were going to try to get her in. I wanted to get her in early, but because of all the technical difficulties, that might have to wait till after the first hour. So, Kelly, I know you're listening. We're going to try to get you in as soon as we can. So I apologize for all the technical difficulties, but we're all good now. Sound check.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Testing.
And like I said, I don't really care what your position is on the Oregon standoff. I have my beliefs. I've expressed my beliefs, but at the end of the day, that's my friend sitting in a jail cell.
And actually, that's what I was going to say. I've heard a lot about that. And you've actually, or one of your friends has spoken to Max Egan, whatever you want to call him. He's my friend. And, so I've listened to those shows on that. And, so go for it. Tell us about it.
Angela, I did several shows on it, so they would be Beleaguer and The Point. Danny's trying to get Kelly in just a minute. As soon as she gets on, you guys, let her give her update. She's only going to have about 10 minutes to do so, and we'll let her go and continue our discussion. But I do want to give our listeners an update on Jason Patrick because he was arraigned. And like I said, I don't really care what your position is. That's a patriot that's sitting there. He's a human being that's sitting there. And any patriot or liberty activist or anybody who's ever stood up to a system and had to go to jail, let me tell you something. When you ain't got nobody on the outside sending you support, it's a hard stay. It really, really tears at your soul. And so, like I said, I don't really care about the politics of it. I have my beliefs on it. I've expressed my beliefs on it, but that's as an objective observer. So when we bring
my friend Santos Bonacci was also arraigned and put in jail for a month, and it was horrible for him. And I couldn't talk to him. It broke my heart. But he's okay now, But he's suffering with with what he went through in jail.
Right. Yeah, it's anybody who stands up for anything right. You're gonna go through some trials and tribulations and spend your 10 days and in a cell, right?
Or a month or 3 months.
Or your life.
So Danny's trying to get Kelly in. As soon as she does pop in, I'll introduce her. She's not a radio personality. Kelly, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Kelly. This is Daniel Louis Crumpton. You're on the air with Angela Forman and Thomas Sands. And I was just talking a little bit about Jason Patrick and that you were going to come on and give us an update as far as his hearings and what his spirits are and how people out there can support him. So I'm going to go ahead and mute out, and I'd ask Thomas and Angela to mute out, and then we're going to give you the mic, okay?
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
You're fine.
He's actually doing pretty good. There are times that, of course, are a little bit hard, but Jason lands on his feet. When life gets him down, things get him down, but he doesn't stay there long. He's quickly picking others up on his way back onto his own feet. So, yeah, his spirits are pretty good. Like I said, times when we, jumping through the hoops of the system don't seem to work out very well. I think those are the times that are the hardest for him, when he's expecting to communicate with, me or his mom or someone else, and somehow the communication lines don't work out. I think that's a little disappointing for him. Mm-hmm. He's recently reported that he had to purchase some reading glasses, and he's finding that very humorous.
I bet he is.
As he gives, older folks a hard time when they, stretch their arms out to read, and now he finds himself doing it. So it's fun, the things that amuse him. Yeah, it is.
And he has been arraigned, that's correct?
He has been arraigned, along with 24 other people. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'll let you go ahead and say it, because it was very Patrick of him.
Oh, what he said.
Yeah, tell the audience what he said whenever they asked him if he understood his constitutional rights.
Yeah, she asked him to say whether he understood them, and he stood up and in his very, very firm voice said, "I understand that I have no rights in this court, and that you'll do whatever it is you wish."
That's my boy. That's Patrick. And, like me and you have had in off-air discussions, I don't care about the politics of the situation. I don't care what side of the fence you're on as far as what they did was right or wrong. Jason Patrick is a human being. If he was at Oregon, he firmly believed that what he was doing was the right thing. I believe and have said on air several times that of all the people who were there, he is the clearest voice. The one who appears the most sane, especially after how it ended with Mr. Steve Buscemi on a nuclear warhead there. So I don't really care. As a commentator, I'll make my statements and have made my statements. I'm done with that. This isn't about that. This is about helping Patrick out, because it is a rough struggle to be in jail. So let the listeners know what types of things he's requesting, how they can get those things to him, and things of that nature, such as sending him mail, sending him books that he's requested, and funds to you guys so that you can travel back and forth, and for his commissary.
Yes, absolutely. Letters are a big deal to him. He is very a personable person. He needs contact with people. So letters are really important. He's always humbled when he gets letters from strangers in support of what's going on, but obviously wants letters from friends too. Letters can be mailed to Jason Patrick. You definitely need his Swiss number in anything you do having to do with him at the jail, and that number is 795104. The address down there in Portland, Oregon, with a zip code of 97204 is 11540 Northeast Inverness Drive. If you are not the post office type person and don't like to do the stamps and the whole mailing thing, we have set up an email account that is lettersToJason620@gmail.com. That is also a way that you can communicate with me and ask any questions you want about how he's doing or what's allowed and what isn't allowed. I have 20 years experience of knowing what's allowed in jails and what's not. So I'm trying to keep up on that. Let's see, letters straight to his, funds straight to his commissary is done at touchpaydirect.com. You would need that Swiss number again to access that, 795104. And then funds that come to us to help us travel down there, we are also funding Jason in his needs for his commissary, are at gofundme.com with the /tag and then Jason Patrick.
Okay. All right. And guys, you guys listening out there, this is an important thing because I've stood side by side with Patrick on several issues, and I don't always agree with Patrick, and Patrick would kill me if I did. That's just the nature of our relationship. Yes, but I know him to be one of the most noble men I've ever met in my life, and the man would take the shirt off of his back to help somebody in need. And like I said, I don't care about your politics on the Oregon situation. I really, really don't. That's a friend of mine. He's a father, he's a brother, he's a son, and he's in a bad situation. And so I don't care what your politics are. do something to help out. And Kelly, I want to extend an invitation to you to come on at any time to give us updates on Patrick, because we consider him a part of the Zen in the Car family, obviously. And whenever you do speak to him, send him our regards and let him know that Zen in the Car Radio is an outlet for him. And if he needs to get any messages out through you, through this radio show, that is always something that's going to be open to him and to you guys.
Thanks so much, Daniel.
No problem. And go ahead, and I want you to repeat all the information that you just gave as far as the email and the commissary, so people can take that down.
Absolutely. The main thing that you need for Jason Patrick is that Swiss number. He is known in jail as 795-104. The best way to contact if you have more questions or need this information repeated to you again is letters with an S at the end to Jason 620@gmail.com. Direct to commissary is touchpaydirect.com. There's GoFundMe.com with the /tag and Jason Patrick. And go ahead and email me for the address again if you need it.
Mm-hmm. And Daniel, just may I interrupt? I don't really know much about his story. Can you please tell us? Because in Australia we don't know about it. But I do know a little bit about it, but most people in Australia or in the rest of the world might not know. Can you guys explain why he's in jail?
Well, in brief, there was an issue out in Oregon with a family called the Hammonds. They were some ranchers that were basically going back to federal prison. Excuse me, I'm a little verklempt. Under something that we call double jeopardy here, which is they served a sentence, and then the federal government wanted them to go back to prison. Jason Patrick was out there with a group of other protesters to ask for a redress of grievance on this. When the protest happened, it escalated into a occupation of a wildlife refuge that was under quote-unquote federal government control. They were making a statement about, federal overreach and land grabs that's going on in this country. And like I said, we can argue the back and forth of if that occupation was correct or incorrect. But at the end of the, was it 40 days, I believe?
41, yes.
41-day occupation. Lavoy Finicum, who was one of the spokespeople for the occupation, was shot and killed. I believe it was by Oregon police, but we don't really know. I don't think, because the feds are giving whoever it was that killed him immunity. And after the killing of Lavoy Finicum, several arrests were made of, I believe, 25 people. Is that correct, Kelly?
There are a total of 25 being arraigned, yes.
Mm-hmm. And they've been in shackles for about a month now. They were just arraigned this week. And so that's where it stands. So basically, from what the federal government is trying to charge all these people with, is a lot of them are facing, I think what I saw was 96 years for what really, in a lot of people's estimation, should be nothing more than criminal trespassing at worst. So it's basically, like we were talking about in your show, the nails that stand up get the hammer. And so that's the nature of it. And I've said on air that there's a lot of what occurred at the occupation I don't agree with. I don't think it was done appropriately. I don't think it was well thought out. But like I also say, that's irrelevant when it comes to Jason Patrick. Because
to answer Angela a little bit more simply too, is that it's really all about our U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which talks about where our federal government is allowed to own land and what they're allowed to do with the land that they do own. And rather than sit down and have a conversation with these folks that wanted to talk to them about what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, the government chose to wait until they acted upon these things, ignoring them at all times before that, and then arrest them for it and punish them for it, rather than sit down and have a conversation.
Right.
And who's the government? They just work for the corporations, right?
All.
Well, and that's just it. Most American people don't really know who they're talking to when they say government.
Which is something that Patrick is trying to be vocal about and get the word game out of it. But Kelly, I want to thank you for coming on the air. Send your family my best, and send Patrick my best when you speak to him. I will be writing him soon. I've been so busy and I hope he doesn't hold that against me. But I'll send him a very long-winded letter, and he has complained to me about how long-winded I am when I write. But I'm sure that when he is sitting in a jail cell, that he will finally appreciate how long-winded I am.
Don't say something that'll make him break his new glasses.
So thanks, Kelly, and I'll get with you after the show and talk to you a little bit more about some things. Okay?
Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Have a good one.
Oh, gosh, Daniel, I can't believe that this is going on.
Yeah, it's a big one. Angela, I think the best thing is to go back and listen to the first show of Zen on the Car Radio. I'll send you to get you.
I've actually listened to most of it. You know what it's like to be a host. Yeah, I've listened to most of it. When you're a host, you're so busy preparing for your next show that you just. But yeah, I feel for her. Gosh.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. You know, he really is. And I'm not professionally. You know, we've worked together. You know, almost since the beginning of Zen in the Car, and you know, we've had some of the best knockdown, drag out arguments. I love it. You know, he's a stubborn, staunch guy, and he believes in what he believes in.
I've heard him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he is. And you know, so I hate the fact that he's sitting there, you know, and I want to make sure that people do support him, regardless of what your thoughts are on that whole standoff. Really, I mean, put that to the side. I don't care about any of that when it comes to.
So what's the standoff? Really, like, what is it?
Basically, if you listen to the mainstream media here in America, they acted like a bunch of guys kind of busted up, you know, military style and took over this compound. When really what it was it was during the holiday weekends, and it was a wildlife refuge preserve that was vacant and open, and basically they just camped out peacefully. Yes, they were armed, but that was a Second Amendment statement. They weren't violent. They didn't threaten anybody. They didn't destroy, you know, any property on the preserve that I'm aware of. And they were just trying to make a statement. And like I said, the debate's still going on here if it was correct or incorrect, you know, and that's fine. But you know,
sounds like Waco.
A lot of people were saying that it might have turned out that way. And I mean, I hate to say fortunate that one person died. We're not fortunate that anybody died. But could have been a lot worse. It really, really could have been a lot worse. So, you know.
They murdered those people in Waco, and if people need to do some research into Waco, what do you think of that?
Over here in America, that's pretty much everybody knows about Waco. Everybody knows about.
We don't know over here in Australia or in the rest of the world, actually. But yeah, I've done some research into it. They murdered them.
Yeah, they did.
Fire bombs into them. They murdered those children.
That's correct.
They didn't want to commit suicide. That's a load of crap. Sorry, I shouldn't say crap.
Well, back then, we didn't have the advantage of everybody having a camera. So the mainstream media was able to take that issue and really run with it by keeping the press away. But there's a documentary that you might want to, Angela, you and anybody who is in Australia listening, I think it's called Waco, The Rules of Engagement.
Okay.
That documentary is riveting. That's one of the things that woke me up to Waco, and shows you unequivocally that the federal government just outright murdered those people. Thomas, have you seen that?
I haven't actually, but I'm going to now.
All right.
Or soon.
Yeah, Waco, The Rules of Engagement.
Well,
so
they didn't commit suicide. They weren't saying, I want to commit suicide. They were murdered, and actually a lot of the police officers couldn't forgive themselves for what they saw. I've seen other documentaries. I don't know if it's that one. But, yeah, they couldn't forgive themselves for what they did.
Yeah, that's a horrible tragedy. It was sick. And, of course, they did what they always do, which is, you know, it was a bunch of religious fanatics, it was a cult, and this and that. And
as far as I know, they weren't a cult. They just want to be left alone.
That's it.
They might have been religion, but that's their choice. I'm not too sure on those things. You might know a bit more about that than me, but they weren't a cult. They just want to be left away from the federal government, right?
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, they were offshoot of the Mormon faith, a splinter group of the Mormon faith. Some people consider the Mormons a cult. I just say believe whatever you want to believe. If it makes you a better person, great. If it makes you divisive and cruel to other people, then you're probably following the wrong faith. So that's my definition of a cult. So
well, they weren't actually registered, so that's probably why they're in trouble.
Yeah, well, 'tis what it is. So I don't think that we're going to get Kimmy on tonight, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to have Kim on my show, but that's okay. I wanted to steer the discussion back to what we were talking about on your show, which is the Book of Enoch. And this is something that you have found.
Here's Kimmy now. I think she's coming up. Yeah, here she is.
Kelli?
So. No, Kelli is up there.
It's Kim O'Celli. And she always gets
Kim O'Celli.
She always gets me into trouble whenever she's on the radio, so we'll see.
I haven't met her. Chuck's amazing, isn't he? Like, if I could be a radio host like him, I'd say thank you.
Yeah, Chuck is, I call him the Samuel L. Jackson of radio. He's the hardest working man in radio. He really is.
I know, and he does it for nothing too. So, guys, American Freedom Radio and Chuck, please donate to them.
Yeah, he really believes. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing radio right now. You know, I got so burnt out, and you and I mentioned Alex Jones, and I'm not bashing Alex Jones. You know, like I said, he's a rung on the ladder, but Chuck really restored my faith in honest journalism, and I've had several off-air conversations with Chuck. I consider him to be a friend, and he really believes in honest journalism, honest reporting, fair, unbiased. He really believes in it. You know, he really believes in it. So yeah.
I've talked to Chuck a couple of times, you know, when there was all this infighting and stuff, and Chuck gave me some advice. Tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's going to tell you what to say, fucking go. You know, like, that's what Chuck does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we're all the same, and I think that on American Freedom Radio, I think that Danny's got a really good group of people who he's not trying to control us. What are your thoughts on that? You know,
the only thing he's ever told me is have fun. And so I was like, all right. So that's what I do. So but anyway.
Thomas, yeah, sorry, I'm being the host now. Go, Daniel.
No, it's fine.
I should be sitting back relaxing. Okay, I'm going to sit back and relax. You call me when you want me to.
I knew we were going to have a little bit of schizophrenia with hat changes because I was on your show, now you're on here. But this is a round table, so it's okay. But I did want to get into the topic of the Book of Enoch and discuss that a little bit. So, Thomas.
Yep.
Have you've been exposed to the Book of Enoch? I know you've been looking into it here recently, right?
I'm still in the middle of it.
And Angela, have you read it yet?
No, I haven't, but I've got lots of Christian friends who that don't go to churches, but they've told me about the Book of Enoch, the hidden Book of Enoch. And it's like hidden because I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. You never heard of the Book of Enoch. We've heard of Enoch, but he was one of the Creator's most loved, and his book is completely squashed. Why?
That's a good question, and that was one of the things. Obviously, the reason we're talking about the Book of Enoch is because my novel Then Came the Flood was inspired by it. And when I came across it, which was 2010, I believe. I remember thinking, why is this not in the Bible? Why is this not considered canon? And so I went on my path of research, and of course, when you go to find out how the canon of the Bible was put together, you obviously come to the Council of Nicaea. And one of the things that I found odd was that one of the tests of if something from Old Testament times was to be considered scripture or canon is if Jesus or any of, the disciples quote from it, then it was to be included. And the book of Jude quotes the book of Enoch. And Jude was the half-brother of Jesus, or Yeshua, however you want to call it.
For the Christians, can you give them the scripture of that or not?
Jude? The passage, are you familiar with the passage, he cometh with 10,000s upon 10,000s of his angels?
I probably come across all those passages, but I actually blocked them out because I was a Jehovah's Witness as a child, and I don't remember them because I was so freaking bored. So much to laugh about that. But I do remember scriptures, but maybe for the Christians out there, get them to look it up. Is there a scripture that you can remember?
Let me do some Google magic because my King James Bible is across the office and my wire is not that big. Let's see here.
That's right. In the meantime, I'll just say to all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, whatever they are out there, I forget all this stuff. You know why? Because I don't want to remember you.
All right, I got it. Ready?
Okay, go.
All right, now, the book of Jude, which is one chapter, verse 14, it says, "And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly, among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hatred, hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against them." Now, what is important about this is, one, the verse is clearly saying that Enoch prophesied. Okay? Now, there's no book of Enoch in the canon, but the book of Jude, the half-brother of Jesus, says that Enoch prophesied. What's also important is that it says that he prophesied that the Lord will come with 10,000 of his saints. And if you do a search of the Old Testament, you will not find that reference anywhere. It's only found in one text, and that's the book of Enoch, the book that was left out.
And I want to say to all the religious people out there, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, whatever, whoever's leaving out the Book of Enoch, what are you scared of? Read it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I told you during your show, we didn't get to it during your show, but, you know, I knew we were going to be discussing the Book of Enoch, and I'm getting ready to write the sequel to my book, so I needed to refresh. So I reread the Book of Enoch this week and came across something that slapped me in the face that I've never heard any scholar mention, any researcher of the Book of Enoch. I missed it, the first few times that I read the Book of Enoch. And whenever I read it, and I'm going to bring it up in just a minute, it dawned on me that, the book, like we said during your show, the Book of Enoch states that it was not for the generation in which it was written, that it was a book that was sealed until the last generation. And, of course, that doesn't mean, the last as in the end of the world. It means, until the battle between good and evil is over with, right?
Well, I'm telling you, the battle is on right now. Like you were saying in our show before, it's already over because they've vaccinated us all. They're vaccinating the teenagers. They're vaccinating everyone. They're poisoning us with chemical poisoning. They're chemtrailing us. The battle's already over.
Yeah, the battle's over.
If you're not already awake, you're in big trouble.
That's where reincarnation kicks in my belief. If you didn't get it by now, you just got to come back and do this again.
Well, I'm not coming back.
No, I don't think anybody who's on this show or who's listening to this show, I think you're on your last incarnation, in my opinion. And that's the thing that has separated the Orthodox interpretation of the Bible with every other faith, and it's the idea of reincarnation, right?
Well, I don't think I was ever reincarnated. I don't know. I've tried to think about it, and I tried to think, between our shows. I wasn't reincarnated. I don't think I'm from Earth. I just don't think I am. I can remember. Thomas, can you remember anything of yours?
Not anything I want to mention.
Well, what's funny about it is the Mormons have this idea of pre-existence, the pre-existence of the soul. And they say that we existed before we incarnated in the flesh, and then we shed our memories. They couldn't fit inside the human brain. And in
Damn it.
What? What's up? You all right?
Damn it. Why did I do this?
Why did you? That's the real question.
Yeah, why did I reincarnate without my memory? Hell no. Note to self on my toe is going to be, do not reincarnate.
Well, I've actually listened to a lot of people who talk about why we don't have our memories, but we're always given a seal, sign, or sigil when we do incarnate as a warning. For me, it was the Om symbol, which I think I've talked about on the other shows before. But you and I touched briefly on the idea of trauma, right? Yeah. And that we were all traumatized at a very young age.
Yeah.
And this is by the controllers of our planet, the former controllers. This is by design. And the reason it's by design is because, are you familiar with something called MK Ultra, Angela?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thomas?
No, I'm not familiar.
MK Ultra. Wow. Angela, you want to explain to Thomas what MK Ultra is?
MK Ultra is where they start them when they're a very small child and they brainwash them in many ways. There's many ways to mind control a child, and it's horrific. And it's beyond. You would have heard of it. Yeah, you would have heard of it. And it can be through a child being molested, whatever, or just being tortured.
Mm-hmm.
And me, I was tortured through the Jehovah's Witness organization. But I wasn't molested, thank goodness.
Right. And we were all traumatized. And if you weren't traumatized by, molestation or physical abuse, if you were born in a hospital where, they induced labor or they performed a C-section or your mother was on her back, you're traumatized before you even exited the womb. I've talked about the birthing industry before. There's a wonderful documentary called The Business of Being Born. It doesn't even make sense to put a woman on her back when she's trying to give birth. I mean, look at gravity. You know what I'm saying? So the very fact that they're inducing labor, performing a major operation, a C-section, all that stuff puts trauma on a child. If you're circumcised, you were butchered. You don't think that's traumatic? So you're going to be hard pressed to prove to me that there's anybody in this generation that hasn't been traumatized at a young age.
I've had 5 kids, and they were 10-pound kids, big kids, and my eldest is 6'7". I couldn't do anything but lay on my back. Sorry.
Well, let's see. There you go.
I quick births though. The 1.5 hour births. Yeah.
Right. But so
I had to lay on my back because I couldn't move. I couldn't even speak.
But see, there you go. The idea of there was brain trauma put on all of us. Now, what does trauma do? Whenever you traumatize somebody enough, what the conscious mind will do is create an altered personality, multiple personality disorder, so that the conscious mind can escape what's happening. And that's what MK Ultra is, Thomas. It was a way to create multiple personalities in young children through means of traumatizing to create different personalities. And so that's what's happened to us on a global scale, which is why we can't remember our past incarnations. We literally all have split personality disorder.
So is that intentional so that we won't remember our past lives? And what would be the motivation behind that?
It's intentional. It's intentional because, as me and Angela discussed her in her show, the Watchers and these elite that we're all talking about, who are the elite? Is it the Illuminati? These 13 families that run the world who descend from entities. They have the ability, this is me theorizing, but I can back it up with some pretty cool stuff. They have the ability to transfer consciousness from one body to the next without losing their memories. That's why when those of us who study this whole idea of a one world government, one world order plan, we never stop to ask, how can this plan be conducted over a period of centuries without a break in the chain? And it's because these evil, elite, archontic, demonic entities, they don't lose their memories when they shift from one body to the next. Therefore, to keep the masses under their control, they have to scramble our memories when we do reincarnate, which is the purpose of traumatization before the age of 6. It's so that we don't remember our past lives, because they do. We talk about transhuman consciousness to software. They've been doing it since the beginning of time immemorial. Look at your pharaohs. I mean, that's the big deal. So, your thoughts?
Kind of scared.
But the very fact that we're discussing it, the very fact that truth is coming out, and I do believe it is a truth from my research, shows that there's a changing of the guard in the new age, because we entered a new age, obviously, in 2012. And those of us who do remember past lives are doing, it's just like the Matrix. The Matrix is prophetic. It's a beautiful parable of what's going on. We're waking each other up to this truth that we have all been fed on by entities that they use our negative emotion, our trauma, our fears, our worries, our sadness. They use it as food. They feed off of us. And so now let's just say there's just the three of us who are on this radio show. If I was the only person who knew it before we started discussing it, well, now there's three of us. So we just keep multiplying. And
yes. So I've been called an empath. Thomas, you've been called anything? Sorry, my neighbour. I'm going to mute out because my neighbour's mowing his lawn.
No, I think that's pretty interesting, though. Not much feedback. I'm really interested in knowing or learning more about this, though.
In the circles that I hang out with, and Thomas, you're getting more in depth with it. Having abilities, metaphysical abilities, is not outside the realm of possibility once you open yourself up to it. All right. And what Angela's talking about as far as empathic, and you're a Virgo, so I know this is true of you. Most Virgos are empathic. We tend to pick up on the vibrational, emotional frequencies of those around us, and if we're not aware of it, it can affect our emotions. But if we are aware of it, we can actually raise people to the vibrational emotions that we need them to be at. Like, for example, how Angela actually came across me, and this can't be coincidence, it has to be synchronistic, is she happened to stumble across that video that I did in regards to my father passing right after her father passed. And what was spoken in that video, which was from an article, spoke to her, uplifted her, got her out of a place, so that's what it means to be an empath, is being able to lock vibrations with somebody else and raise them to your vibration rather than being pulled down by like negative people. So that's empathic.
Okay, well, that's fairly interesting.
And I think that most empaths have suffered trauma, and maybe from birth, like you were saying, because I think I've always been a nervous child.
Yeah. It's like I said, if you're not conscious that you're an empath, you could have, if you look back on your life and you just look at your emotional roller coaster, you go, oh, geez, when somebody walks into a room, they're having a bad day. I was having a good day, and all of a sudden now I'm having a bad day. It's because, let me put it to you this way. Paulo Coelho is one of my favorite authors, and he wrote The Alchemist, and he wrote I Sat by the River Pedra and Wept. And in that particular book, the main character is taking this woman through her spiritual path, which, Thomas, you need to put that on your reading list. I Sat by the River Pedra and Wept. Great book. Right. Anybody on the path needs to read that book after they read The Alchemist. But he's taken her to a church over in Italy somewhere that she's always wanted to see, and there's this grumpy groundskeeper who says that they can't go in because it's after hours. And the main protagonist grabs her by the hand and pulls her into the church at the protest of the groundskeeper. And he looks at her and he says, "Listen to me. Everyone is always trying to bring you into their story. You have to make the decision on whether or not it's worth going into their story or following your own story." That's what being an empath is really, really about.
Yeah. It's hard to be an empath. I my biggest fear is people seeing that I'm an empath and that I feel their emotions, I feel their hurt, like with what I do with the job. When I see sick people, I feel their, I feel their energy, and I take it on board. You guys do that?
Yeah, all the time. But see, that could be a plus because, though, and empaths are bad at hospitals. We just don't do really good at hospitals. But
and avoid hospitals.
What's good about being an empath is like I'm fortunate enough to live near a public park that I love to walk to and meditate, and there's always children playing. So whenever I'm having a bad day or something, I can go to that park and just sit underneath the trees and listen to those children laughing and playing. And as an empath, I soak up that. So it's a double-edged sword. You got to know how to harness your gift because being an empath is a gift.
I wish it was. It is actually a gift, and we should embrace it. And our weaknesses that come from it, we should actually embrace those and be open about them. And we try to hide them. Daniel, Thomas, like our weaknesses, we try to hide them from people. Thomas, do you do that?
Yeah, normally I hide my weakness. I see it as a thing that if you know my weakness, it's because I want you to help me with it. Otherwise, I don't want people to know my weaknesses because they could hurt me for it. Or with
so what are your weaknesses?
Well, then I'd be saying it on air.
Mine's nervous energy.
I know what his weakness
is. It doesn't matter.
I know what his weakness is.
What is it?
Cup of noodles.
Oh, yeah.
That's inside joke, Angela. You ain't on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
No. Don't eat those cup of noodles because I'm an expert on chemical sensitivity. Do not eat those noodles.
Well, you say that, but I have about 24 empty cups right here waiting to be thrown away.
Well, do you know what poisons are in those noodles?
Good tasting poison, I can tell you that.
No. You got to stop eating those noodles. That's for another show. But I'll tell you now, do not eat the instant noodles. Do not have them because they are poisonous.
Man, it's gonna be tough.
And I know that, Angela, and I've done all the research, but every now and then I have to indulge because, you gotta. I'm sorry, a cup of noodles, man. That's a staple over here, especially if you're poor. If you're broke, jeez.
Ooh.
No, you can get some organic stuff from there, and just mix it up with some tomato sauce or whatever. You can actually mix it up with some soy sauce, garlic, onion, tomato, and just throw it in the pot. It's just as cheap. Sorry, guys. It's called laziness.
She is actually correct because there is a Vietnamese mart right down the road from me that has excellent organic rice that you can make quicker than instant noodles and do all kinds of cool stuff with. But anyway, getting back to reincarnation.
But regardless, don't eat those fucking noodles. Sorry, guys.
So the notion of reincarnation and why we don't remember our memories or our past lives is because we have been traumatized over several different incarnations. So I've been talking to Thomas about the process of Kundalini. Angela, are you familiar with Kundalini? I know that you got to know what Kundalini is if you're friends with Santos.
Yeah.
You want to?
I'm not an expert on it though, but yeah, he is. I don't. Yeah, I'd let him speak about that.
The whole process of the cerebral spinal fluid that Santos talks about.
That's my biggest problem is my Kundalini. That's what I need to repair.
And Thomas is on that path too, and the whole and Santos and he's coming on the show next week, which I'm really excited about. But the whole point is to get that Christos, the oil back up into your cerebrum to put together the memories that have been fractured. Now, I have been through the Kundalini. It is an intense experience. I would ask anybody who intends to do it to take caution before you walk the path because you can never go back. But when you do perform the Kundalini, you will remember past lives. And it becomes increasingly difficult at that point to know who you are. Because when you remember who you were, you have to be able to make the distinction between who you were in a past life, because you were horrible people. But you were good people too. You know?
I think I was either a herbalist, living out away from people, completely away from people, or I was some sort of awful person, and I've come back and said, I'm not going to do that again.
I was a fed.
You're a fed. I love it.
I know for a fact that I was from Asia at one point because I ate everything with chopsticks, and that means everything with chopsticks. But, so that's, I can't wait to talk to Santos about this because, tying it in with putting your memories back together, which is happening now in this generation. More and more people are learning, you know, thanks to people like David Icke and Santos and Jordan Maxwell who've, you know, all brought this research and built a foundation for people like us to take it even further. It's becoming exponential. I mean, now we got Thomas. He's 19 years old. How much information is he going to be able to disseminate to generations younger than him? So, like we were talking about in your show, the battle's already won. We're the cleanup crew. We're just here to explain how the battle's already won, right? But we are, I don't want to get cut off by the break. So is there any thoughts that you guys have on reincarnation or anything like that before the break does come?
Thomas, I can't. Is there anything you remember? Like, I wish I could. I can't. They must have really done a great job on me.
I can't remember anything, but I guess I do have some questions that might be too general that I could just Google, or that y'all might have already discussed. But no, I can't remember any of my possible potential past lives. You know, I'm a very skeptical person. As soon as I do, I'll let you know, though.
Best way to be.
And I think that I was either a horrible person who used to, because I'm a very loyal, faithful person, I might have been a horrible person in a past life, or I was a witch, or I'm not from Earth. I don't think I'm from Earth. And I was talking to my partner about that earlier.
Well, that brings up a good question.
I'm not from Earth.
If you're not from Earth, where are you from?
I'm from Earth, but I'm not an Earthling. I'm not a human. Does that make any sense? I've always said since I was a little child, and we're going to go to break shortly, that, and it's okay for me to say this, that I'm not from this, I'm not a human being. Like, I'm not a human being.
You'll have to go more into that soon.
That's a little Wayne
said that.
Is Little Wayne big down there in Australia? Y'all got Little Wayne down there?
I don't listen to that shit.
Toonchi.
What? Little Wayne is a genius, Angela. Come on, a little bit of Wu-Tang.
Oh, no, sorry. Don't go there. But no. Yeah, no, I really personally think that I'm not from Earth. I'm from Earth, but I'm not a human being. I don't think I was ever in a past life. I came down here and I'm just saying, what the frickin' hell were you doing? And I could do the Australian version, but I'll say, what the frickin' hell are you doing, Angela? Why did you sign up for this? But yeah, I know I did. And I've suffered a lot. You know, what about you, Thomas and Daniel?
I was going to quote some Little Wayne, but never mind.
Go on with the Little Wayne, come on.
I've got ice in my veins and blood in my eyes, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, like Led Zeppelin says, it's nobody's fault but mine. This is Daniel Louis Crumpton on Zen in the Car Radio. We got Thomas Sands and Angela Forman on, and we will be back right after the break. See you guys then. It's Daniel Louis Crumpton here. During the break, we all decided that the reptilians are the only people who are indigenous to Earth. We were all assholes in a past life. We're not from this planet. We're all hybrids who have come here to invade this planet during this age. That being said, I have Angela Forman from Toxic Deceptions and Thomas Sands from ZenInTheCar.com joining. How are you guys after the break? Did you get what you needed? Did you get your smoke break in, your WikiLeaks, so to speak?
I got laughing. What I needed. We had a good laugh between the show with Danny.
Yeah,
if only people could hear what we say between a break. Come on, Danny. I wish Danny would come on sometimes and say, "You guys,
If people knew what we said during the break, we would all be committed before the show.
I'm sorry. I'll get to get my mic because I can't stop laughing.
So I knew we were going to get into all kinds of things, especially after Angela's show today: reincarnation, traumatization, abilities, star seeds, star children, indigo kids, hybrids, watchers, Nephilims, all that good stuff. And that's cool. That's what Zen in the Car Radio is about, and American Freedom Radio lets us talk all kind of cray, which is great. So,
okay. I'll stop laughing now. Kind of.
I'm so sorry. I know this is cliche, but good day, mate.
G'day.
Hello.
Hello. Put another shrimp on the barbie. I know. I'm an annoying American. Sorry.
Oh, I have in my show, I so wanted to copy your accent, Daniel. It's so hilarious to me.
I got so many voices in my head. You no idea how many accents I got. How y'all doing?
That's not very good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Is that Thomas, was that an Australian accent?
No. That was a down home Georgia accent there.
Down home Georgia accent. Am I doing that okay?
Oh my.
God.
And Thomas, you're from what part of America?
I'm from Georgia.
Yeah,
same place.
I got called a Yankee one time, and I'm like, I was born and raised in Georgia.
Can I just copy that? I got called a Yankee one time.
Perfect. Spot on.
I got called a Yankee one time. That we don't put another shrimp. We don't call them shrimp, for fuck's sake. We call them prawns. Get it right.
Prawns?
They're called prawns. We
Prawns?
never. Anyone who calls a shrimp on the barbie is a liar, because we never ever call them shrimps.
Now I have a question though. Is a Barbie a doll, or is a Barbie something else?
We don't say shrimp on the barbie. We say, let's put some prawns in the barbecue.
But what the hell is a Barbie? That's what I'm wondering.
A barbecue.
Who started
barbecue.
that? Where did it come from?
Barbecue.
Oh, that was what's his name? You call that a knife? This is a knife.
Oh, Crocodile Dundee. Okay.
Yeah, Crocodile Dundee. You call that a knife?
Hey,
yeah.
Angela.
No, but you never hear an Australian say, let's put another shrimp on the barbie. No, we say, can we put the barbecue on? We don't speak like that. That's crap.
Angela, as an American citizen, I would like to thank your country for its great contribution to the world of cinema, Crocodile Dundee. Part 1, 2, and 3. Masterpieces over here in America, by the way. Good job.
We should actually get him. What's his name? We should get him on my show. Get you guys on.
Now you guys did send us.
He's been screwed over by the Australian government, by the way. He's copped a big flogging.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Really, I'd love to know why he copped a flogging, but there's a reason. There's always a reason when a big star gets a flogging, because the pedophiles get away with blue murder. That's what we say, blue murder in Australia. If you're in big trouble, it's blue murder. Why did he cop a flogging, and why is he in blue murder? He must be going against the Illuminati, the controllers.
We have to look into that.
The Illuminati?
Yeah, let's look into that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the Illuminati. Jeez. Another day.
They're not eliminated. They're deluminated.
That's another show. Okie dokie. So getting back to the Book of Enoch. Mm-hmm. I came across a passage. So let's get our thinking caps on here. Now, I have always said, and I mentioned it before the break, that the big separation between the Orthodox interpretation of the Bible and other faiths is this concept of reincarnation. And it is of my personal reading that the Bible does actually teach reincarnation. And I would even go so far as to say that it teaches it in the 66 canonical accepted books. Are you guys familiar with that?
I'm familiar with the books. I'm not familiar with the teaching. Enlighten me, please.
Alrighty. Well, for one thing, and I'm not going to get too deep into Scripture. Like Jesus said, go look it up in another place. I'm not going to give you all the citations. Look it up yourself. It's there. But basically, according to the prophecies of the coming of the Messiah, Elisha, and there was two guys that never died in the Bible, Enoch and Elijah. And it was written in the Old Testament that before the Messiah comes, that Elijah would have to return, right? So whenever Christ comes up on the picture, all the people who did not believe said, well, if you're the Messiah, where's Elijah? And he pointed to John the Baptist. And he said, if you can bear it, there he is. Okay? Now, we also know that when Jesus was in Mary's belly and John the Baptist was in his mother's belly and they met, both of them jumped in the womb, which to me is an indication of reincarnation. The fact that you have in the Old Testament after the slaughter of the kings with Abraham, he met with a guy named Melchizedek, who was king and priest of Salem. Well, according to the Old Testament, you can't have the only person who can hold both king and priest titles is the Messiah. So you have in the Old Testament this guy named Melchizedek who was both a king and a priest, right? Which is a pre-incarnate Christ. Centuries before, Nazareth, you have a Christ appearance in Melchizedek. And the Book of Hebrews also says that Christ was after the order of Melchizedek, without beginning of days, without end of days, without mother, without father, right? So he was a reincarnation of Melchizedek. So you have those things that would indicate reincarnation, but you also have the man who was born blind from birth, that begged outside the temple, and Jesus, before he healed him, the disciples said, well, is this man, was he born blind because of his own sin or his parents' sin? And Jesus responded, neither. He was born blind for the glorification of God, so that I can heal him and show this miracle and everything. What Jesus didn't say was, wait a second, how could this guy be born blind because of his own sin? Now, these are Orthodox Jews that asked the question. Now, they asked if he was born blind because of his own sin, which means that these Orthodox Christians had some notion of reincarnation. But what's important to note is that Jesus didn't correct them and say, wait a second, fellas, you're talking about reincarnation. Jesus never said that. He just said it was neither. He was born so that, God could be glorified. So there you have Jesus not excluding reincarnation as a fact. The very idea that Jesus was crucified and then took up his flesh again. Well, what does the word reincarnation mean? Again, carne, flesh, to enter the flesh again. So even in the crucifixion and the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, it's reincarnation. And then if you ask any Orthodox Christian if they believe that their bodies that die are going to be reborn, assimilated, they all believe that they're going to get a, quote, glorified body, which is reincarnation. So how Orthodox Christians can look at you with a King James Bible in their hand and say that reincarnation is a teaching of the devil defies all logic. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, but I just think that I was stupid to come back.
What do you mean? Wow.
That's what we're laughing at between the break. No, I don't want to say that I was here before, but I probably was. But note to myself, and stick it on my toe when I die, do not come back.
Well, reincarnation doesn't necessarily mean that you're restricted to reincarnate on one planet or one plane of existence. Yeah. It just simply means to jump from one body of whatever form to another. But the point that I'm trying to make is once you add the Bible, the teachings of the Bible and Christianity to the whole pool of other faiths that know reincarnation is a fact, it opens up doors of unity amongst faiths, which is what we need. And Christians will sit there and talk about this ecumenical one world religion. No, this is not, nobody here is talking about one world religion. We're just talking about universal spirituality, which is.
And that includes New Ages, right? That's another religion.
Yeah, anything where, yeah, you can make anything a religion. So I'm not talking about a one world religion. I'm talking about a universal spirituality. I mean, let's face it. if there's one ultimate God, does it really matter what name you call it? You can call it Pete for all I care.
That's why I won't call it any name because the Creator didn't tell me his name. So if I call, it'd be like me calling you Daniel or you Thomas. I'll call Thomas Fred, and you Daniel, I'll call you Samantha. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Well,
Samantha.
I'm just coming up with the name because someone told me his name was Samantha. You know what I mean? It's insulting. So I won't give the Creator a name.
Well, from my reading of this, I was brought up in the old, the biblical. That was where I started out my spirituality. But from my reading, all the old prophets gave God a name that they gave God, like Jehovah Jireh, Yahweh. It's a personal God. So I just call God Daddy. I call God Daddy. And, sometimes I call God Mama because there's a female aspect to God. It's feminine. It's masculine. It's, God is not a man. It's a spirit. It's all around us. There is no spot where God is not.
When we're conceived until a certain amount of time, we're actually male and female. It's not until a certain point of time that we actually become male or female. So we are all one. You can't say that you haven't got a feminine aspect. It's just that you happen to grow a penis.
Right. Well, I've always had a rough time wrapping my brain around the fact that God is supposed to be this guy with a beard that can magically have a son without a female counterpart. That I never really could understand that. Right? But we have been in a masculine energy for more than 2,000 years. It's been a very patriarchal society. And now the energy is more feminine, which is more intuitive, more compassionate. That's the new energy that we're getting, especially after 2012. It's the feminine divine is going to break free from this oppression. I mean, look, the Orthodox Church has been killing women since the foundation of Constantine's Roman Catholic Empire.
Okay, going back to past lives, I think they probably killed me because I was a witch, a feminine witch, because I'm into herbs and medicines, and I grow all these weird things in my garden. It looks like a witch's garden. That's probably what I was.
Just out of curiosity, let me ask you a question. Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah.
How many?
2. One really big one on my back. Mm-hmm. I actually went to a tattoo artist. I was going to get a what do you call it, on your belly button, like a belly button ring, and he said, "No, I'm putting that on you." And I thought, okay, well, I'll get a spider web of a love heart on my my inner thigh. He said, "No, not doing it." So I actually had the old-fashioned tattoos, and it took 3.5 hours of the most excruciating pain, and I swear it was as bad as labour, if not worse. So I should know. And then one on the front was quite easy, but it's an old-fashioned, so I've got 2. What does that mean?
Well, what are they of?
Love hearts with okay, I'll have a look. I don't really look very often.
You got to look at your tattoo.
They're Celtic. They're Celtic symbols. I'm Irish. He didn't know that, but they're Celtic heart on the front, and on the back it's a heart with all these things around it.
Well, you're starting to worry me, Daniel. What's the relevancy here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different show. I don't have tattoos. Never will.
I shouldn't have, but I was in a bad place at the time.
You just came out of the pub, bro.
No. I wasn't. I just wanted to be rebellious. That's why I did it.
What's your tattoo, Thomas?
Well, one's a snake.
Huh?
We won't go into that one. And then the other one is a variation.
Where's the snake?
On my arm.
Okay, that's good then.
And then there's the one of the variation of the chaos symbol. Oh, God.
I just thought of a joke, but I don't know if I should say it with a lady present.
Hey.
You can say it. Go on. I'm an Australian girl. I can handle it.
All right. If I ever did get a tattoo, it'd be a $50 bill tattooed on my phallic, because I hear that women like to blow money.
Oh. That's corny.
That's horrible.
A little bit, yeah.
That's funny. We need to bring funniness into this. Okay, relevance. Okay, I've got love hearts on there. What he's got snakes. Thomas. Oh my God.
This is just me. This is Crumpology. I've never read this in a book or anything like that. This is just what my intuition tells me. The relevance of tattoos is it tells you how many incarnations you've had and how you died in your last one or where you came from. So if I were to go with my intuition, you have Gaelic or Celtic tattoos. That means that you obviously come from the Druids, which if you know anything about Michael Tessarian's work, he'll tell you that the Irish, the Celtic.
I am Druid. Yeah, I'm Irish background. Yeah, how'd you know that?
Because you got Celtic tattoos there, and
but I didn't choose them. He designed them.
Well, there you go.
Put them on me. He said, "I'm not going to do this one. Not going to do that one."
Yep.
So,
remember when we were talking during your show about angels?
Yep.
Okay. And so, if you know Michael Tessarian's work, he talks about the Irish descending from the descendants of Atlantis, which would get into your feeling of you're not from this planet. So you might want to look into that. But that's the relevance of tattoos from my point of view.
Oh, no, please go on. I want to hear more about this. Go on to Thomas's. Please, do my reading on my tattoos later. I want to know more. Because he refused to give me the tattoos I wanted. And he was a really good artist. But I had the old-fashioned ones, which felt like 1,000 needles being put in my back every few seconds.
You got to be careful with tattoos because people who are psychic or intuitive that are ill-intentioned can read you like a book, and they can take advantage of you. That's why the Bible says not to put markings in your skin for the dead.
And that's interesting because after that I suffered my anxiety.
Uh-huh. And Thomas, you said that you have a snake.
That's right.
Serpent, Kundalini, last incarnation. Ta-da! So that's just me, and I'm what's called an eye detector, which is since I'm Virgo, I'm Quicksilver. Whenever I meet somebody, especially if they have tattoos, any kind of emblems around their neck, any kind of jewelry, rings, or T-shirts, it tells me everything that I need to know about their psychology in just a few glances. And I learned that by reading the Hannibal Lecter books, because that's exactly what he does. He just looks at you.
So what's it called?
The Ability.
What's the book called? Or the Hand of...
Oh, Hannibal. You know, Hannibal Lecter.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. If you want a crash course and save yourself a lot of college tuition on psychology, skip college and read Thomas Harris's series with Hannibal Lecter. By the time you get done with those books, you will be a psychologist through and through. And, you know, that's where I learned how to do it, by reading Hannibal Lecter's books.
Okay, so tell us about Thomas, because now you've exposed me as being a Celtic...
I think I would have to go into more detail about the snake itself.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Which I don't want to do. Because you might read me like a book.
Oh, go on, Thomas. Just be open.
Let
it out.
It's a cut-up snake, if you're familiar.
Wow.
This Don't Tread on Me, from that?
The Join or Die, that one.
Join or Die, yeah.
Unite or Die.
Yep, somebody was in the Revolutionary War. Which would explain a lot. Right? You got to bring the snake back together in this incarnation, right?
Oh, we'll try.
There you go. Don't tread on me, motherfucker. So, alrighty. Now,
so hang on, get back to mine just before. I don't want to keep it too long, but what does mine mean? The hearts, the Celtic, all the scrolls around it. What does that mean?
You're gonna have to send me a picture of it if it's not inappropriate, and I'll do a reading when we get off the air.
Okay.
I'm being serious. I'm a professional.
No. I used to be a pencil noodle artist. I understand that you don't even see the body. You just see, what it is.
The heart means that you're supposed to love a cup of noodles.
Give in to the cup of noodles, Angela.
No,
join our religion, the Church of the First Cup.
No, do you know what I used to do? Really, I'll tell you, people, I might come across, I'm the health person, but I used to, probably about 10, 12 years ago, get 2-minute noodles, microwave them, so they're nice and crispy, and then put the frickin' stuff on the top and eat them like crispy noodles.
What the heck? That's not American.
I don't have a microwave. I haven't had one for at least 6 years. They're disgusting. They'll kill all the nutrients, by the way. But I used to throw them in the microwave and crisp them up and have them nice and yummy and then put the sprinkling on the top and not have them with water. Oh, gee, they're good.
Yeah, you got to do that in jail. Yeah, eating ramen noodles in jail is an experience, man. It's really an experience. Because you got to, I don't know if either of you guys have been to jail, but.
No.
For one, your sink is connected to your toilet, which is funky in and of itself because it's like, well, this is not right. But you got to press a button, and the water only goes for a second, and it's just lukewarm. So if you get ramen noodles from the commissary, you're not going to eat hot ramen. It's just a trip. So don't ever go to jail and get ramen noodles, but, whatever.
I think I'd do a Paris Hilton if I went to jail. I'd chuck a mental.
I fast. I actually give my food out to other prisoners and go on a hunger strike, and then they typically just.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. Last time I did that, they let me out, and they dropped all the charges, and they were like, just go, dude, because I was teaching all the other inmates their constitutional rights and to plead not guilty and demand a jury trial.
You are gonna love my friend Santos, Daniel, when you two talk. You two, you're like twins. You're gonna love, because that's just like, get out of here, go on, get off.
I've been following Santos for years. He's one of the reasons that I do it. But yeah,
he's listening now. I just messaged him. He's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's listening right now, but he will. I just told him we're talking about basically his ears burning.
Yeah, it was Santos that got me into a lot of it. And I was in jail this was something stupid. I was in jail for, it was about 7 days, and I refused to eat. And whenever they would let us out of the cell, I asked for a copy of the Constitution, and I would just have the inmates line up. What are you in here for? They tell me weed, cannabis. And I'd be like, all right, here's what you do. Plead not guilty, demand a jury trial, fight it all the way. All right, brother. And then right on the line. The next one, every one of them. After about 7 days, the solicitor said, drop the charges, get his ass out of here. And they did. They kicked me out. They kicked me out of jail. And
it still wasn't nice, though, was it? Like, it must have been freaking.
I actually had a blast. Over here, we got this detention center. I was in a cell block with maybe 100 guys, and out of 100 guys, there was like 2 guys that genuinely needed to be there. The rest of them were all for victimless crimes.
Yeah.
It was destroying their lives. My cellmate, Big Show. What up, Big Show?
You would have terrified them. You would have terrified them. Get him out.
Oh yeah, they kicked me out. But yeah, Big Show, my cellmate, he was in there for having one painkiller in his car. He lost his house, lost his job. His wife divorced him through the glass. He had been sitting there for 6 months, hadn't seen a judge. They destroyed his life.
There's actually a raid in Houston. I don't know if you've heard about it, but or Houston. Houston, yeah, it's Houston.
Houston.
Well,
actually, where I live, they call it Houston County. Okay.
Oh, okay. We call it Houston in Australia. Is there a difference? Houston, Houston.
Here's the deal. This county that I live in was named after either a colonel or a General Houston who had a stuttering problem. So it was serious as a heart attack. It would come out.
Sorry.
It would come out Houston. So these idiots around here just called it Houston County. And I'm like, when I first moved here, I was like, it's not fucking Houston County. It's Houston. And they're like, no, it's Houston. And they're very militant. So then finally I just confirmed. But it's because the dude had a stuttering problem. I kid you not.
Well, he needed to work on his kidneys, but we'll get into another show. Tell us what you're saying.
Anyhow, I was saying it was, I think they arrested like 50 people, might have known 1 or 2, and then it's all victimless. No one was harmed. The only victims here were the ones that are arrested. People want to say you were ruining your life with drugs. Well, not really. What ruined their lives is being thrown in jail and losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And the drugs, the elderly people who are calling these people out, the baby boomers or whoever, who are saying these people smoking marijuana. And I don't smoke pot. I really don't. I'd like to, but I just fall asleep, so I can't. They're taking crystal meth. It's just in a drug form, you know.
Yeah.
So
anyone
listening to this show who thinks that speed, you know, which is Ritalin. Anyone who thinks that you're calling out drug addicts and saying they're bad, look at your prescriptions.
Yeah. Look at what you're feeding your kids. Adderall. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say meth is bad, but then feed your children Adderall all day and wonder why they can't sleep.
Well, you know, we were supposed to have Jason Turner on tonight, and you know he's getting married, so I ain't gonna hate on my bride, but he was gonna come on because he is a veteran. He was wounded, and he is at the mercy of the VA because of all the crap with legal marijuana here. And he put up a video on YouTube, which we were going to discuss, where he basically he says, I got my shipment of meds from the VA today, and the warning inserts, I'd like to show it to you. And he literally taped it to his living room wall as high as he could reach, and it went all the way down his wall and all across his living room floor. This thing was insane. And he goes, I have to read all these warnings for quote unquote medicine, and if I go and smoke a joint, they're going to throw me in prison.
Yeah, and what are they giving him? What is the real synthetic medicine they're giving him? Worse than anything.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's a sad state of affairs.
I'm just messaging Santos Bonacci saying your ears burning.
Me and Santos have a great time.
Oh, you too. Because I know Santos well. But you're very similar in what you say. But
so let me ask you real quick on the low. Nobody else is listening. Is he a smoker?
Okay, no one else is listening.
Is Santos? Does he do the ganja? Come on, Santos. Come on. He
does if he's in ACT because it's legal.
Come on, that's smart, boy.
Australian Capital Territory. Our politicians are allowed to smoke it. But yeah, he smokes it when it's in a legal state. That's all I'll say.
Our politicians need to smoke it.
Well, and I had Rick Simpson on a couple of weeks ago, and Chuck helped me out with the show because my dad died the day before, and I couldn't let Rick Simpson go. I was actually saying, let's hang them, and he said, no, let's just give them a bit of cannabis oil.
Yeah.
Daniel, we're totally taking you away from the subject, so just go with what you want to talk about. Sorry.
At this point, what are we talking about? Roman noodles?
I don't know.
Pot and food, man.
Don't eat ramen noodles. Okay, that's going to be the subject of the show. Do not eat those noodles.
Yeah, give them to me so I can throw them away for you.
No. Brain damage. Look it up. Look at the ingredients. But we'll go on. So Daniel, go back and guide us, please, because we're both. I'm taking it. We're both taking over.
Yeah, and
we're laughing because it's funny, and it's okay to laugh because we're in a shitty world. We're chemtrailing us. They're doing everything they can to us. We might as well freaking laugh.
Yep.
I'm calling you out, Angela. You saying you don't smoke the green? You a liar? You are high as a kite right now.
No, I actually no, because I'd actually be if I did. I don't need it.
Switch strains,
Yeah, no, but it is actually legalized as of yesterday, I think, or the day before in Australia. It's decriminalized in Australia nationally. But they want to control it, and they're going to charge us a fortune for it. So basically,
typical.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
All right,
but yeah, don't smoke it because I run a soap kitchen where I have all sorts of alternative medicine, and if I did, they're going to come after me, and so I've got lives to save,
Yeah, understood. All right, so whose show is this? Thomas?
Mine. This is mine.
Hey, Thomas, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thomas N Show, where we discuss nothing at all. Play these.
It's a show about nothing. No, okay, all right, getting back to the topic at hand. Enoch, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is something that I came across this week that
He's never going to let me He's never going to let me on again. Go, Daniel, sorry.
You're absolutely correct. Enjoy your time here. All right. So catch it, okay? This is for real. Snap out of it, guys. For real.
Okay, for real.
All right. So this is cool. You mentioned Trace Smith, right?
Yep.
In his talk about the Book of Enoch and the Watchers and everything. And I've been watching some of his videos. I have seen some in the past, and I like some of his stuff. Obviously, a lot of his stuff I don't agree with, especially the parts about Israel and whatnot. Don't agree with him at all about that.
Yeah, I think I watched it before I learned about Israel, so yeah.
Yeah, his stuff on Israel, I'm not going to argue with him about it, but he's wrong. So, that being said, he and a lot of other people that I do know who talk about the Book of Enoch mention that the Book of Enoch is very, very profound because it talks a lot about the Messiah, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys said you hadn't read it yet, so after you do read it, we can discuss it. But I've read it. I got it right in front of me. But something I came across this week blew my mind, and I really want you guys to let it sink in when I read it to you. Now, after Enoch describes the Watchers, what happened on Mount Hermon, the creation of a hybrid race and all that, it gets into prophetic events where it starts talking about this quote-unquote coming Messiah. Now, let me just give you a little bit of context. Enoch is taken up into the heavens. He's shown, the luminaries. He's shown, all these mystical things that just is so overwhelming. He's shown the temple of the Most High God, who you can't even look at, which is in the Bible and in the Book of Enoch, is called the Ancient of Days, or the Lord of Spirits. This is the Most High God, right? And leading up to chapter 71 of the Book of Enoch, it is continuously talking about this Son of Man who is going to come. Now, you guys know that the reference of the Son of Man has always been attributed to Jesus Christ, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know anybody who would debate me on that, but that's just, he's called the Son of Man, the Son of God, this Messiah, right? So Enoch is up in the heavenlies. He's being escorted by the angel Michael and Gabriel and Phanuel and Raphael, and he constantly is falling down on his face at all this stuff that he's seeing that's so overwhelming, and these angels have to keep picking him up and explaining things to him, right? So this is what really blew me away that I got to the other night. Okay, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to start in verse 9 of chapter 71 of the Book of Enoch. It says, "And there came out of that house Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and many holy angels without number. And with them was the head of days," or the Ancient of Days. "And his head was white and pure as wool. His garments were indescribable. And I fell on my face, and all my flesh melted, and my spirit was transformed. And I cried out with a loud voice, with a spirit of power, and I blessed and praised and exalted. And those blessings that went forth from my mouth were acceptable in the presence of that head of days," or Ancient of Days. And verse 13, "And that head of days came with Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel, and thousands and 10,000s of angels without number." Now let me pause. That right there is what Jude referenced in the book of Jude, verse 14, that said the Messiah will come with 10,000s of his angels. This is the only place in antiquity that verse is ever mentioned. It's in Enoch, and it's in reference to the coming of the Messiah, right? You guys following me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me continue. Verse 14. "And he came to me and greeted me with his voice and said to me," quote, he's talking, this son of, is talking to Enoch. He says, "You are that Son of Man who was born for righteousness, and righteousness dwells on you. And the righteousness of the head of days," or Ancient of Days, "will not forsake you." Do you guys get what that just said?
Elaborate.
Yeah,
Angela?
I kind of do. Yeah, I do.
All right.
He's basically saying that. Sorry, it's not my show.
Go ahead.
But, yeah. I think he's saying that that we are, that, and like what I was saying, that I'm not from Earth, that there's many angels that come down to Earth and that we're here to help. That's my interpretation.
Thomas?
Oh, I have no interpretation here.
Okay.
Waiting. I need more.
Let me rewind it a little bit. Let me give you the context of it.
All right.
Enoch, who just got taken from Earth, okay, he's a human, right? He's taken up into the heavenlies. He's being shown all these visions, and he's being shown a vision, okay, of the Son of Man who is to come, right? The Messiah, who Christians will tell you is Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sees this Son of Man, this Messiah, in his glorified form that is to come with 10,000 upon 10,000s of his angels. And he falls down. And then when this Son of Man comes up to him, he grabs Enoch and he says, "You are that Son of Man who was born for righteousness, and righteousness dwells on you."
So it means like I'm like a child of Enoch.
Well, if you read it in its context, it's saying that if you read it in its context, it's saying that Enoch is the Messiah. So it's Enoch in his glorified form talking to himself in a lesser incarnation, telling himself that they're one and the same. And right here in the book of Enoch, which the book of Jude quotes, Enoch is the Messiah.
Plot twist.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Right.
That's why the book of Enoch was sealed until our generation. And when I read that...
Who's Enoch now?
Well, he's all of us. The Messiah is...
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
The Messiah is all of us. All of us, really, actually, like right now, you're talking to yourself in a different incarnation. All of us.
Maybe that's why we're laughing so much together.
Exactly.
I feel so bad because I'm not the host, but I just feel so happy to talk to you both. You know, I can't stop laughing.
And
we couldn't stop laughing within the break.
So I'm a Messiah, basically?
It's a happy feeling. Yeah.
We're all the Messiah.
Yeah.
Note to self, don't do LSD before shows.
Right.
And we actually haven't, but being happy is a form of LSD, right?
Laughter is the sound of recovery.
And being around people who are like-minded makes you happy. And I've got only a few friends in my life who I consider my close friends in this vicinity. And we just laugh, and it's like I want to tell people, stop hanging around people who bring you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's
in the words of Kendrick Lamar, do not kill my vibe.
Yeah,
Something before that, though.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a lot, is you have got to quickly identify toxic relationships, be it family, be it friends, be it, places of employment. It's not worth it. It's really, really not worth it. Follow your joy, and that's going to get you where you need to go. And, that's the best compass. But yeah, who is Enoch? Enoch is you. Enoch is me. Enoch is Thomas. The whole idea of the word Christian is a little Christ. It's the multiplication of the Spirit that was within him. Right? We're all God in the flesh. We're just looking at we're experiencing ourselves from different perspectives that we use little names to reference the point of observation.
So you're saying it's not the commercial religions that sign up and part of the tax deductions and all these things. It's us, the ones who are actually down there.
Well, it's like this. The Hindus say namaste, and that's the best way that's a perfect saying, because it means the divinity that is within me recognizes and bows before the divinity that's within you. And if
I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Can you explain what it means properly? Because people say namaste, I didn't really understand it.
Essentially, it means the divinity or the God that's within me recognizes and bows to the God that's within you. Right? That's That's what namaste means. That's why it's such a beautiful phrase, because it encapsulates so much in just one little word. And,
some people overuse it. I find the most passive-aggressive people use it as well.
Yeah, they don't understand what it means. And it's if you just say it as a greeting or a word, it loses its context. But if you really use it with the emotion that it demands, it really does connect you to other human beings. It really, really does. It uplifts you just to hear it and just to say it.
I might need some further explanation here. At what point in our ancestry did we start becoming the Messiah, or have we always been, or what's the deal with that? Can you explain?
We've always been. I like the Hindu faith is really, really cool. And there's a lot of hard to pronounce words, but it talks about Brahma, and the plenary portions of Brahma. And the idea, you both are Radiohead fans. What's the song? Body Snatchers. Body Snatchers is a really good song to understand reincarnation. They've got a skin and they put me in, right? That lyric. I don't know if you guys remember it.
Yeah. I don't.
Whenever I'll send it to you, Sans, the Body Snatchers. They've got a skin and they put me in. All the lies that run around my face, all the lies that run around my face. He's talking about reincarnation and the fact that we all, at one point, put it to you this way. God or Brahma is like your foot. Have you ever had your foot fall asleep when you propped up on it too long? Yeah. And then you move it and you could feel it start to tingle, or all the cells start to wake up as blood rushes back? That's us. That's us. All of us are cells in the body of God, right? And you have this Most High God. Like, for example, imagine that your body is the universe. The Most High God is your consciousness within, like what Santos would say, your head, the temple of your skull. Well, you've got atoms that make up cells, and all this stuff is going on in the universe of your body that you're not thinking about consciously. You're digesting food, you're breathing, your heart is beating. All these things are happening. You're not having to pay attention to it. But every cell of your body and every atom that makes up every cell is still in the body of God.
That's what I say about bacteria as well. Like we're like a representation of bacteria. Our cells in our bodies, bacteria all over our bodies, a representation of God. We are in His image, right? Exactly.
We're all God experiencing itself from different perspectives. So, that's why what you do to another person, you're doing to yourself. What you do that's why, if I understand that you and me are the same person and I steal from you, who am I stealing from?
Yourself.
Right. If I strike you, who am I striking?
Yourself.
Right. That's karma.
So I guess what I was going to say is me and Donald Trump are the same person.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
With a better hairdo, Thomas. I hope, with all his money, I don't understand why he hasn't got a better hairdresser. Anyway. He's out of the running, right, isn't he? Isn't he out of the running?
No.
Nope.
He's actually winning.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he quit.
No, he's winning. I don't want to talk about that. Sorry.
Let's not talk about that, because that guy, he has to be a psychopath, because no one has a hairdo like that. I'm sorry.
I think he's pretty fly.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
Thomas brings up a really important point, which is, okay, if all of us are reflections of each other, what about people who are in your life that you can't stand or that are abusive to you? And that's, it's going to take another show to discuss that. But basically, from my experience, what I've come to understand is whenever you come across somebody who is adverse to you or that gets under your skin or there's some negative thing about that relationship, you're looking at yourself through a mirror darkly. There's some aspect of your personality that person is trying to mirror and show you so that you can clear it from your karma. right?
Even the nasty people?
Especially the nasty people. It's a mirror that you're looking at. There's some part of you, that...
Well, maybe I don't want to look in the mirror because I've actually stopped hanging around those people.
Well, sometimes that's all it takes.
Just stop hanging around them. It's simple. Boom. Gone.
Self-awareness of a problem is 99% curative, right? But sometimes we got to have those people who are around us that keep, bringing about negative aspects of our life to make us examine what it is about us that is bubbling up for us, right?
Yeah, you always can have that.
And that, like I said, that's a discussion that it'll take a whole other show to talk about because it's difficult. Because it's like, yeah, Donald Trump is me, so what the hell?
So, Daniel, why did they hide the Book of Enoch?
There's a concept in Buddhism called terma. And as a Gnostic, this is something that I really, really appreciate. And it's the idea that whenever an enlightened teacher or an age of enlightenment comes along, that eventually the teachings or the knowledge is going to be corrupted over time, so it's important to take that knowledge and bury it. The Buddhists would bury knowledge. The Gnostic Gospels were buried. And the reason is because they believe that there's always an appointed generation that is ready for enlightenment, and when that generation comes, the terma, or the hidden knowledge, will resurface for that generation. And the Book of Enoch is a part of that. The Nag Hammadi Library is a part of that. If you really want to, the Book of Enoch is not the only hidden book. It's great. But you get into the Gnostic Gospels, like the Gospel of Truth, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Gospel of Judas. This is terma too. The Book of Enoch is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. The Book of Enoch is there to make you go, well, wait a second, if this one book should have been in the canon, what about all these other books they said not to read? And that's why I suggest go to your bookstore and order a book called The Other Bible, which is a collection of the Nag Hammadi Library, and read those. You can get most of it online for free. It's in public domain. The Gospel of Truth is life-changing. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene will change your world. It really, really will, because that was his closest disciple, and most people don't want to talk about the fact that Jesus or Yeshua was married. Sorry. How could he be tempted in all points as we are if he couldn't have been tempted with infidelity to his wife? Uh-huh.
Right. Wow, that's very interesting.
Think on that for a minute, dog. Uh-huh. Just saying. So, but I ain't trying to build a church. That's just the stuff that I've come across.
Well, too late. I've already signed up. You are the Messiah, and...
Hey, you are the Messiah.
No, man, you are the Messiah, dude.
No, we are the Messiahs. That's what Daniel's trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
And we all
of us.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell the difference. I don't know about you, but I was thinking about this today, and is that the ones who research all areas, not just 9/11, not just anything, the ones who research all areas, who aren't frightened to look at all areas, are the real truthers. The ones who control, they ain't so much. What are your thoughts, Thomas and Daniel? What do you think about that?
Yeah, all of us are inquisitive by nature, and like I said on your show, we all have an affinity for rebellion. And it's just, this is the age where we all come together and fix this shit.
I hope so.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Don't hope. No.
Well, I'm just, sorry, I take on your accent when I do that. I tend to take on people's accents. That I think that, do not let anyone ever control you or tell you what you can research or what your specialty is. Because, as you said, we're all part of a different part of Christ's body, or whatever you want to put its body.
No.
Did you hear that, Thomas? Daniel was talking about that earlier. Was that our show or my show?
Yeah, that was your show. I said, we're the X-Men.
I missed that show.
Oh, tell him about that, Daniel.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
We were talking about us all having different abilities coming together. We're like the X-Men, and I mentioned, the passage from the Bible where it says we're all members of the body of Christ. Some of us are the hands, some of us are the feet, some of us are the eyes, and we're not to be jealous of each other for our abilities because, you break one toe and you'll understand how important that one toe is.
Right.
So.
I have a question, though.
Sure.
Are there different levels of messiahs?
I think that there's levels of awakening, like the idea of Thomas Anderson or Neo being a blind messiah. No, I don't believe that any messiah knows that they're messiah from birth. They have to come into knowledge of it themselves. So you're at a different point of awakening. Like they say in Gnosticism, when the student is ready, the master will appear. But we only have a few minutes left. So before we do get cut off by the bump music there, Thomas, you can be found at zeninthecar.com, correct?
That's right.
All right. And you can find his articles on the Sands of Time. He's been posting pretty regularly. And Angela, you are the host of Toxic Deceptions. And you want to go ahead and give your times and everything? Because I'll mess it up because I'm over here in Georgia.
Well, I'm USA Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Australian Time, 8 a.m. Sunday. So it's Saturday, 1 p.m. USA Pacific Time, and 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Wow, my nose is bleeding. I want to go ahead and scold Kim O'Chelly for not being in the passenger seat. Bad girl. We'll try to get Jason Turner on as soon as we possibly can. Next week, you guys have got to tune in. We're going to have my fellow smoker, Santos Bonacci.
Oh, no. No, he only does it in legal countries.
Right. He does it under the law. He's cool.
He follows the law.
And I really look forward to having him on. It's a great show because, man, I can't wait to pick his brain.
His brain is great to pick. He's amazing. But, yeah, sorry, I always felt like doing this whole, especially the second hour, is laughing. Why is that, Thomas and Daniel? Why? I just feel like laughing. Maybe because my show is finished and you're the host. I don't know.
Being happy is a wonderful thing. Laughter is a good.
It is.
Laughter is the second best medicine.
Yeah, it is, man. It's the sound of recovery, as they say.
And I haven't had any drugs or anything. I'm just like laughing. Because it's so good to be with fellow-minded people who aren't closed-minded. Because there's plenty of people in the truth movement who are really closed-minded. You got to do it my way.
Now listen here, Angela. There ain't no high like the Most High.
Ain't that right?
Praise the Lord.
Sure is. Hallelujah.
So yeah, I think if there's anything that we could take from tonight is that we're all special. We're all gifted. We all have a sob story hanging over our shoulder, and you just need to let it go.
We're all delicate flowers.
Yeah.
We are delicate flowers. And I think laughter and the fact that we've been laughing and through the break and everything else is great.
All right, guys. This is ZEN RADIO. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Angela Forman, Thomas Sands. This is AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Thanks, Danny. Guys, tune in next week. Santos Bonacci. Have a wonderful week. Peace.